Not gonna lie, when I decided to make this video, I was planning to dunk on the NBA dunk score, but upon further review, it's actually done quite well. And some of the things that people have said about the dunk score being broken are simply edge cases, right? That's the whole point of pushing something out that's a beta. It's because you can then test and then rebuild your formula to be more resistant against those edge cases. So in this video, I will edit in some of the edge cases that has been suggested, especially those coming from the leaderboard, and then I suggest how this can be modified. But overall, dunk score is actually really, really cool, really, really good. And whoever wrote it, I want your job. Okay, so let's get started by looking at the video. So firstly, it's a way to, take in various data that's being measured in real time, and that's the player tracking, right? 3D post estimation, and that's already happening in the NBA over the past 2 years. There is in-game data, in-game biomechanical data of the players' movements, as well as already existing play-by-play data. So from the work I've done over the summer, there's data for each play that classifies it as like a dunk, a shot, a layup, a floater, etc., etc. And when it is a dunk, then you can use the biomechanical data to quantify what's actually happening. Okay. And these categories, honestly, it's pretty decent. It covers a lot of things, but what really matters, especially when it comes to like nitty-gritty scoring, is the kind of detail within each of the categories. Okay, so let's look at how each of them is computed and then discuss my thoughts. So firstly, what's pretty cool is that, it actually provides the biomechanical equation. Okay, so player vertical, that means for a play, they basically they have like a specific time frame that the play occurs within, and then they can compute the mid hip, meaning the hip joint center from the biomechanical data. That's the estimate of the body center of mass. They compute it versus the peak mid hip height during the jump. So you're gonna have your hip somewhere like this, it goes up and then comes down, and the difference between the peak and the takeoff. So there's like they even have an event, right? When the player's jumping foot leaves the ground, that's exactly how that's similar to how I'm calculating jump height. Don't know exactly. But this is one way to do it, and it's perfectly valid, especially using mid hip to estimate body center mass position. Very good. And the takeoff distance, honestly, right, you need to be consistent, right? Account for people jumping from 1 foot and 2 foot. So you can already tell from this that whoever's doing this knows what the heck they're doing. Lovely. Thumbs up. I want your job. But what's interesting is like the distance for the 2 foot takeoff is measured from the midpoint between the big toes. For really, really long players, I think instead of having the big toes because their big stride length can stretch the takeoff distance back, I still think it should be done from the foot that's closer to the basket, right? It's a very simple switch in the algorithm. But for me, again, no big complaints about the computation of takeoff distance. And hang time, now this one can be played with a little bit because obviously when there's collision, it's going to affect the hang time because there's external force that's being applied. When you hang on the basket, how is the hang time going to be computed? When you apply force downwards to the ball and the basket, again, your hang time is going to be affected. And a lot of times, hang time is also already affected by vertical and distance. So because of how variable it is, I don't know how much weighting the hang time actually has into the score, but this is something I'll actually take out, even though people generally love describing hang time. It's simply described by these two, the distance and the vertical, and to some extent, the collision. So this is pretty interesting, maximum ball height, and actually it's very useful for understanding what you need to prepare for the athletes, right? Because if you take a look here at the season leaders and you pull up the date, it shows you that there you go, the height of the ball. So it essentially tells you all of these are happening at 11 feet. Remember what Jones said from THB way back, how you basically have to be able to easily touch 11 feet, maybe 12, right, to be able to dunk in the NBA. And you get some support of that, where a lot of these data it still hovers around 11 feet. So that tells you here's what height you need to get to really dunk in the NBA. Oh, yeah. Fill up the formula again. Dunk score. Dunk score. I hate that this how to do this. Oh boy. All right. Where is it? Okay, is this one? Yep. Okay, cool. Let's go back to it. So let's keep going. Reach back distance, that's something I just thought about. And I think it should go into the style. It doesn't quite say here, but I assume it goes back into the style. And what's pretty cool, they again they chose the simple way, the simplest method, which might be quicker. Furthest distance between players' head and the ball. So further the ball is backwards behind the player, the greater the score. One thing I might have done differently is I looked at you could use an angle, right? Because you can think about really a slingshot dunk where the ball is brought all the way back. It might not be as far back as possible. It's brought all the way around and behind the body instead of just straight backwards. Okay, it's actually behind the body and under, and that's actually better. So again, you instead of measuring this distance, you can do like an angle, right, between vertical and the arm, whichever arm has the ball. So obviously, the bigger the angle, the greater the score here. Ball speed through the rim and the ball acceleration. So the total acceleration now, the acceleration obviously changes through time. So I think maybe a better thing might be like the acceleration of the ball at the moment it passes through the rim, right? So then it's quite similar to ball speed. So they are kind of repetitive with each other, but that's whatever. And the ball movement, no, this is actually pretty cool. So right, it captures windmill double clutch behind the back, right? And one other thing it doesn't, and then you need additional details for those dunks where which body limb that does it go around. And that's something I'm pretty sure that the WDA, World Dunk Association dunk score actually accounts for. But honestly, as a first pass, this is already really good. Like I can't I was planning to dunk on it until I looked a little deeper and whoever did this, great freaking job. Okay. Now look at the defense part. So that's actually one score that people have a lot of beef. But again, by looking at these data, a lot of thought actually has been put in. Awesome. So the contest level, so let's see. So this one is basically the relative heights between the dunker and the defender and the hoop. And honestly, like right, even accounts for whether you're right in between the dunker and the hoop or more so to the slide, and how close defender's hand is to the ball with slide weighting towards that. So if it's under, they're penalized. Awesome, right? So only if they're challenging, then the defense is good. So, and then there's also alignment, meaning are you coming face on, like face to face, chest to chest? Perfect 1-0 alignment score, and using dot products between direction vectors and scale by distance. That's freaking awesome. This is exactly how we approach it. And maybe one more thing, okay? Special logic. Yeah, okay. So one more thing that I would add to this is you add a scaling factor for the relative height of the defender. Because one thing that Trey in the video I brought up said was if one defender is if it's a guard dunking on a big, obviously it's way cooler than a big dunking on a guard, right? Even though the guard can be very high for this. And that's one of the edge cases, but it's also the most freaking awesome edge case ever. So it's a very, very simple fix. You simply account for the defenders. You pull data from defender's height and then, or no, you don't need to pull data. You just compute the defender's height right then and there, head minus toe, okay? And then you use that to almost like adjust and weight this defense score so that it helps the short player get a big up for dunking on a big player. I still think Ja Morant dunk should be like by far the highest. Come on. That's the edge case. That's pretty important. But overall, actually, really freaking good job to whoever comes up with this. So let's take a look at the actual data itself and see what kind of stuff is offered. Okay. So, minus the score, you need a metric to measure things. Where's Ja Morant? Where's Ja Morant? Where's Ja Morant? Bro, was that the one? Portland? No, I think it was. See, it's crazy. I need to scroll this far down to find Ja Morant. Maybe it takes more time to process. I don't know. But right? It's weird, but hey, maybe it does take some time to process. But let's take a look at this, okay? So you have your jump and power. I'm pretty sure power. Oh, right. No, these are the score that compiles all of these individual metrics. So again, when you have enough data, you can do a machine learning model to find, what's the more objective weighting of each of the scores that from individual data. But what's really, really cool, what I really, really like, right? It even shows you the vertical, okay? Whoever's like doing future research, you can say, wow, here's and Jalen Green actually got a 40-inch vert in game. That's insanity. Okay, but the others, right? You see it's mostly around 30. A few some around high 30s, makes sense. And 78, Trey Mann. Wow. Shaden Sharp. Oh, I think that might be the dunk that's really high alley-oop, right? Maybe. Don't remember. But yeah, so what's cool is that it shows that, and then it shows your hang time, which I personally don't I don't think it's whatever. Distance takeoff, dunk of the hand, height of the ball. I think this alongside the vert, super interesting. And as opposed to the speed tip, oh, so these are the binary classifiers. These are okay. It's just to identify specific events. Like we describe these things as metadata, meaning data related to our data, right? It classifies the kind of data that we have, while the other things are actual data, like part of what we are trying to observe. So yeah, but overall, actually very impressed with the dunk score. So let's take a look at the dunk scoring system from World Dunk Association, which has way more of a focus in terms of the entertainment and the trick dunks, right? So we will have a lot less of the response to like rotations, right? There's a lot less. There's maybe some reverse, like NBA players do love reverse because it's one of the easier things, easier trick dunks to do. But there's a lot less like 360 rotation, etc. All that. And then so not all things can be directly applied between the WDA and that. But let's see. So obviously there's only one attempt in the game. Finishing style and approach. Okay. But what's cool about the NBA is that it's directly, so this one it's more so a simple scoring system to help you, help judges give score on the spot. But the NBA actually has biomechanical data, right? So you can take quite a different approach. So yeah, but anyway, I honestly think the dunk score is already pretty good as a beta. It's freaking awesome. Again, I want the job. Okay. So, but yeah, hope this video was entertaining and I'll see you next time.